one is taught to master their skills. That is a very short-sighted way of educating. It's not the way I educate those that I mentor or work with. I don't teach you skills for you to memorize. I teach you the ability to ask questions that allow you to take things apart, so that way you can, because what is a problem?
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast with Alex Ramirez. Today, I have an incredible gentleman who I'm very excited to get to speak to, learn from, and connect with. Before I introduce him to you, though, I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments, reviews, and likes on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well. That's my favorite place. And I want to ask you for a favor today. I want to ask you that if you get something out of this interview, if you get some type of branding value, some type of information, or the inspiration to go out and start implement something and start making progress towards your goals, I want to ask you to please share this episode with one friend so that we can motivate, inspire, and bless other entrepreneurs out there who are looking to level up their life. So today I have David Brier. Is that right, man? Yeah?
Got it.
He's the recipient of over 320 international awards on design and branding. And David has the rare distinction of being presented to the Presidential Ambassador of Global Entrepreneurship, Medallion. There, nice. He's a native New Yorker and Google's #1 ranked rebranding expert. David's 4 decades of branding expertise are sought after by companies of all sizes, from startups to global organizations, and every industry be demanding unorthodox design in today's business climate. And in addition to being a branding and rebranding expert and keynote speaker, David is the best-selling author of the #1 Amazon book, Brand Intervention, which takes you through the 33 steps to transform your brand and make it into a brand that you have, into the brand that you need. Let's see, with the foreword written by the Shark Tank star and CEO of Fubu, Daymond John, and companies worldwide have generated in excess of $6 billion worldwide in sales using the strategies that David outlines in his book, which I bet we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. And I'm really excited to have you, David. Thank you very much for making some time, man. And you are welcome.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Alex.
So, David, the first thing that I do with my guest is I tell them to like walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
In 75 seconds or less. Well, let's see here. Well, I started out in New York City, and I basically that was in 1980, and so I've been doing this for 42 years. I started out knowing a lot about art and design and knowing nothing about business. And so the first 15 years were rather big highs and extreme lows, until I started actually learning more about business and balancing everything out, and actually being able to not only help myself, but help my clients actually grow and expand. That I think I achieved in less than 60 seconds. So there you go. Nice.
So a lot of people start there, right? So there's this thing that I learned the other day that, the 6 human needs. And the first 4 are certainty and uncertainty. And then the next 2 are significance and love. And most people do things for certainty. So like if you are good at cooking, right? Well, you'll start a business. It's very probable that you start a business in cooking, right? Just because of the certainty that you have around cooking, right? But like cooking and running a cooking business are totally different skills.
Yes,
right?
that's correct. That's
So
correct.
so like you knew a lot about art. You had this. You were talented in art and designing and stuff, but you knew nothing about business, right? So like walk me through that journey, man. How did that turn out?
Well, in school, one is taught to master their skills. That is a very short-sighted way of educating. It's not the way I educate those that I mentor or work with. I don't teach you skills for you to memorize. I teach you the ability to ask questions that allow you to take things apart, so that way you can, because what is a problem other than misaligned opportunities? You know, there might be one thing that's doing something in one way, another thing that's doing something in another way. Maybe this is a great asset, but it belongs somewhere else. If you do not have the ability to actually resolve and ask questions, challenge notions, and have a sufficient amount of imagination to be able to wonder, how could this be if it were going to be better than it is right now? How could this situation be? How could this company be? How could this opportunity be? How could this business be? How could these customers be better serviced? How could this design solution or branding solution be better and more impactful in a noisy world? If I don't know that there are questions like that to ask, all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be graduating, knowing how to design something. Well, that makes the circumstances the master and me the slave. The only way for me to become the master is for me to know, okay, is this the right solution for these set of circumstances? I have to be able to envision a future that might be directly contrasting the existing scene today. It's like some people might say, oh, this is an incredible achievement. And I go, gauged against what?
Yeah.
I'll always be the one to ask, gauged against what? Well, how is this a better achievement? Well, we're selling double what we were selling last month. Well, what were you selling last month? 1. Oh, so this month you're selling 2. And you consider that amazing? I don't. Not when you have created an incredible product and you should be selling 50 or 100 or 200. Selling 2 is not a success. I recognize it as a gain over 1, but I don't consider it a success. So it's being able to look. So to me, it all starts with the ability to observe. And I was always very inquisitive. I was always curious. And the greatest entrepreneurs, the greatest leaders, the greatest friends, the greatest allies, the greatest mentors are curious. Every one of them you will find is curious. Tirelessly curious.
Yeah. Man, so this triggers me to like ask you about school, right? Because like in school you're taught basically to like memorize stuff.
That's
and right. Growing up, so like I have a little brother, we're like 8 years apart, and like growing up I would watch him, and I didn't have the discernment back then to like know that was wrong, but now thinking back I'm like, holy shit, that was a very bad mistake. But like my little brother had this inquisitiveness and this curiosity as well. Like he would ask, for some reason, he was like 6, 7 years old, and for some reason he asked for a telescope to look at the stars. Like he said, I want a telescope to look at the stars. And then my mom was like, no, you're stupid. Stop. Right. And boom, like curiosity killed.
Right.
And then he was like exploring, playing in the dirt, on the ground and stuff. And then he would ask for like one of those magnifying glasses, right? Because he wanted to look at the ants, and he wanted to look at the further into leaves. Right. And when he asked for it, he was like, that's stupid. Go and do your homework. Right. And he collected rocks, and he wanted to like examine rocks, and he asked for a kit, for like a rock examination kit. And again, his curiosity, his inquisitiveness was killed, right? By my mom, by his teachers, by everyone around him. And man, now that I have the discernment to like understand that that was bad. Now, like I feel like that was really tragic. And like I don't like school, man. I was really good at school. Like I'm not those type of entrepreneurs they were really bad at school, and then the school failed them, and then they had to go and become entrepreneurs. I was really good at school, but I don't like school, right? And like I have a daughter. She's about to be 3 right now in June 30th, and I just want to send her to like, I don't know, like a superhero school or something in which they find their unique talent, their unique ability, her superpower, and then they exploit that and they focus on that. So that by the time she's 12, she's like world class at that one thing instead of learning and memorizing a bunch of crap that she's never going to use.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that, man?
The bottom line is the more that we, first of all, I would 1000% back up your desire for her to discover her own unique capabilities. Anybody can memorize anything. Memorizing is a machine skill. It's like muscle memory. It's like you're training something to just simply regurgitate back. If you want, to me, I found it to be a joke. There was this presidential dinner where all of these, this was 2 nights ago, where all of these journalists are celebrated for being such an incredible profession. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, a journalist being celebrated as a brilliant profession? No, that's not a brilliant profession. Brilliant professions are where innovation occurs. Brilliant professions are where creation occurs. Brilliant professions are where disruption occurs. Brilliant perceptions are where someone challenges the status quo and says, why not this? And introduces something new. You will get that from someone who has the built up strength and conviction and certainty to ask, why not? Why can't this be like that? That is that is where leadership comes from. That's where future ingenuity comes from. The greatest changes in life, the things that you and I value every day. This microphone right here was not the result of someone who just learned something in school and decided and learned how electrons and protons and molecules and energy are interrelated. No, they asked, well, what else is there? They had an inquisitive, curious mind. Well, this computer, the lights, everything we take for granted today is the result of innovation, is the result of a single individual who actually looked at things and said, why not? So I applaud you on encouraging your daughter and your brother. I hope that they're able to rekindle your brother's interest in these things that he was interested in, and so encourage him to continue looking as he had looked, because there's more power in someone who takes the time to look in the world than someone who simply takes the time to memorize what they've seen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is pretty simple, like you said. Anyone can do it. It's a machine, right thing.
It's a machine. Yeah, it's a machine capability. It's like what I mean. You want to know the great. Here's a simple example. Who do we value when we're looking on social media? Is it someone who simply regurgitates back what you've already heard 500 times, 1,000 times, 2,000 times, 5,000 times before? Because they were really good. Ooh, they spotted that same video that you had already seen, or took that same quote that you've already heard, or repeated something that someone said. Is that the one that leaves an impression upon you? Or is it the one that actually gets you to look and introduces a new idea? None of us in business or in life, we cannot get people to come to new conclusions with old ideas. Magic happens with new conclusions. Magic happens with new questions. Magic happens when new things are combined that nobody thought to combine before. Those that have said, oh, there's nothing new under the sun, they may or may not be right. But there are new things that we can do under the sun with those things that are under the sun.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's where innovation comes from. And the bottom line is that's where brilliance comes from. That's where you do something and that inspires me. That's where I do something and that inspires you. And that inspiration causes a ripple effect. That is not caused by regurgitation. The people who have left an incredible, indelible mark that you go, wow, that you're like, bam, that really had an impact upon me, was someone who introduced a new idea to you or asked a new question about something old and got you to look at things in a new way. It's our job to bring people that's when something special happens, when you can bring someone to arrive at a new conclusion. Whether you're trying to sell them something or you're trying to encourage them to look at something newly or challenge something that hasn't been done. Well, wait a second, that was the world record. Well, that was the world record yesterday. Why the hell can't there be a new one, the new world record this afternoon?
Yeah, man, you feel like a very prolific person, right? Like the type of person that is either liked or hated, right? Because you just like question the status quo. You question things, which is something that most people don't like, right?
Personally, I don't find the only people that I find don't like it are the people that are more comfortable accepting the old rather than challenging.
Which is most people.
Well, put it this way, it's common. But I'll tell you, the entrepreneurs that I am very fortunate to deal with and have as clients and people who I mentor, et cetera, it's like, I don't find any of them going to sleep in my presence. They're not that stupid. They're not that stupid. It's a stupid thing to go on autopilot when you're hanging around me, because I'm not going to let you just go riding on past glories. I don't care. That was yesterday.
Riding on past glories. So man, you've had a lot of success, right? You have your #1 Amazon book, Brand Intervention, a lot of awards, over 320, international awards and all of that. So you're not riding on the feelings of the past successes. So what is it that you're after right now?
What's next?
What's next?
What's next is what excites me. That's what excites me. Do I get excited to go home to my wife because of the conversations we've had in the past? I know I love those, but it's the conversation that we'll be having this evening or tonight or tomorrow, and knowing that we will each challenge one another, and neither of us will let either of us get complacent with how things have been. I mean, I've done some remarkable things in my life that I'm incredibly proud of, and so is my wife. Now, do I just look at what my wife has done and know that her best times are behind her? Bullshit. Would I insult her that way? Hell no. Would I insult myself that way? To say, wow, the best things I've done are behind me. That's a death sentence. I basically just said I'm dead. I'm no longer
sad.
That's pathetic.
And that's how, man, well, at least, so like I grew up in in a culture in which by the time you're 40, you're done. And most of my uncles and people that I grew up knowing, by the time they were 40, they were done. Like, they had the belly that they could rest their hands on when they were standing, and they were done. Like, they didn't have any like, they weren't inspired to like go out for what's next, or they were not aspire for anything, and like they're done. So I grew up in this environment in which, like most people were talking about, most people in their 30s, 35, 40s, we're talking about the times in which they were crushing it in the basketball team in high school. So fucking pathetic, huh?
It is completely pathetic, and the bottom line is that is a self-inflicted death sentence. It's self-inflicted. No one has the ability to suck the life out of our dreams other than ourselves.
100%. Yeah. So, man, brand intervention, 33 steps to transform the brand you have into the brand you need. All right. So that sounds like, okay. So what kind of brand do people need?
Well, the bottom line is let's keep, I like to keep these very, very intimate and very, very, very personal to.
Sorry for the interruption. If you're an aspiring, established coach, course creator, author, and speaker, I want to extend an invitation to check out my free training on the podcast Cloak Track Framework by clicking on the link in the description of this podcast. On this training, you're going to learn how combining podcasting with a rare concept that very few people know about called the cloak track can help you build a multi-million-dollar network of successful people who can become your clients, put you in front of hundreds of your ideal clients with your message, coaching, courses, and books, help you become a best-selling author, get you booked to speak on stages, or even making an extra $237,600 in the next 6 months. Click on the link of the description of this podcast to learn about the 4 simple steps to make this work. Step number 1 is alignment. Aligning who you're trying to be, what you're trying to do, your goals and purpose with building your podcast so that podcasting is a vehicle that helps you achieve your goals. Step number 2 is leveraging the cloak track to find an unlimited supply of your ideal podcast guest. Step number 3 is leveraging the cloak track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4 is the content machine, which is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. These are the 4 steps to making the podcast cloak track framework work, and I'm not going to hold anything back on this training. So click on the link in the description of this podcast, go and check it out. And once you've done that, if you feel like this would help, we also have a complimentary, free, absolutely free alignment call to get you started and show you exactly how to implement everything. Get access to the training right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
To those listening to this, the bottom line is everyone has a brand. And I love those people who say, I don't have a brand, I'm just me. I'm like, well, bullshit. Just you? Well, you decided you were just you. No one else decided that for you. Now, someone may have tried to convince you, oh, you're nothing more than just you. Now, okay, so someone may have said that, but you bought it or you didn't. You accepted it or you rejected it. I mean, I was a very, very stubborn, rebellious kid. I didn't like being put in a box. I didn't like being put in a category. I didn't like this is all you can do. If I saw something great, I aspired to have some of that greatness, that be able to bring about some of that greatness, whether it was art, whether it was cooking, whether it was a quality of life, whether it was having an impact on people, whether it was writing a book, whatever it was. And that's what fires me up today. I mean, the bottom line is I look and I see way too many people operating at a fraction of their capacity. It's dismal. It is boring. And whenever if someone like I jokingly say to my friends and colleagues and whatever like that, if someone is stupid enough to come over to me and try and convince me that they are incapable or they can't get something done, or they're gonna try some of their excuses, my basic viewpoint is get used to disappointment, because you are not winning this freaking argument. Over my dead body will you freaking actually be a loser. And then you're not going to be a winner because I say you're going to be a winner. I'm going to get you over the bullshit ideas that you are selling yourself on, because that's bullshit. That is bullshit. I mean, why, it's like sometimes we all have certain degrees. We also all have something that's going to drive us to excel. For those of us that are true leaders, that impulse comes from within. For those of us that are not, we don't want to be leaders, but we want to be followers, that impulse is going to come from outside. It could be a coach that forced us. It could be a disaster, like a building fell down, and all of a sudden only because the building fell down did we finally have the balls to be a hero that would not stop at some obstacle. That what was thrown our way was a big enough calamity that we said, no freaking way, I am not going down on this fight. But for all others of us, that impulse comes from within. So that's a whole spectrum of life. Is that impulse coming from here, or is that impulse coming from out there? And if it's coming from out there, how big does it need to be? Is it something like somebody just tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, you could do better? Or is it someone like some Navy SEAL freaking sergeant saying, look, you slimy piece of shit, get off your ass, or otherwise I'm going to freaking break your back. I mean, does it have to be that much force, or do we have the inside conviction? And that to me is the spectrum. Or is it going to be like, oh, wait a second, a sniper just took out that Navy SEAL guy who was cursing you out, and you're next. And the red bead, you see that right on your freaking chest, and you're next. All of a sudden you can run fast.
Yeah. Because
your life was on the line. But that's external. It's the difference between external impulse versus internal impulse.
Man, that's amazing. Amazing insight. External versus internal impulse. So I'm a leader because, well, now that you're saying that, I'm a leader because like I don't have anything pulling me, right? So there's no, like, I know what I want, and I have this like big vision of my life and what I want to be, do, and have. But it's not like pulling me, like that's not the only thing that motivates me, right? And then I don't have anything pushing me, like anything that I fear or that I'm doing things to not have this, right? So I don't have anything pulling me or pushing me. Like everything that I do is driven by this inner sense of motivation, this intrinsic motivation. Maybe it's purpose, maybe it's passion. I don't know what it is, but I love it, right? Mm-hmm. And hearing you talk about it, it's no wonder, right, why I'm a leader, because I have that. So how do you get it? Do you know? Do you have any insight on that? How do you get that internal impulse, that internal, that internal impulse?
I think it's personal pride. I think it's personal pride. And I don't mean the kind of pride where, hey, look at me. No, that's no. People confuse pride with being braggadocious. But no, when I'm saying pride, it's like, hey, when you walk down the street, are you proud of the example that you set? With every step, are you leaving a legacy with every step that you take that inspires another, that helps another, that sets a brilliant example for yourself, that sets a brilliant example for others, that recognizes your intrinsic role in the scheme of humanity? That to me is what it's about. So it's that pride, which to me is just awareness of one's actual, you're here. Own it. Don't apologize because of it.
Exactly.
Don't shrink. Don't shrink because, oh, maybe there's someone maybe better. Maybe there's someone more qualified. Maybe there's someone, I don't know. It's like, you don't know. Get the hell over it. Knock off the freaking little, like wondering and self-doubt and self-negation and all that crap, and just get the hell over it. Get the hell over it. Like right now, enough. And so, so I'm merciless when people are working with me. They love it. They're sometimes shocked, but they feel more alive. They feel more awake. I'm not letting them go asleep on the job. It's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Yeah, man, being unapologetic about who you are is so key, because like and people, like, again, going back, like, that makes people uncomfortable. Most people, well, it's very common that people don't like that. So for example, I went back to my family, visit them, my Mexican family, and I had this a couple of days ago. I had this like vision, this like insight, this like revelation, right, during a meditation, and that told me that I was going to be a legend, right? And then I was with my family, and I was like, God talked to me, and he told me that I was a legend, and that like my, I'm a legend in my inner world, in the, in the metaphysical, like in my vision, in my mind, I'm already a legend. But in the physical world, things haven't happened yet, and it hasn't caught up to who I am, to what I am already. But I am already a legend. And then one of my uncles, man, he literally left the party because of what I said, right? Because he was like, he called me. So like part of my core values are respect, humility, and wisdom, right? So like I consider myself, respectful, humble, wise, and, well, at least that's what I strive to be, right? Respectful, humble, and wise. And he told me that I was not humble at all. That he used a word that I don't know how to say in English, but yeah. And he got mad, got up, and left the party, man. Right. And then my mom and my grandmother started to like want to blame me, right? But like I had like, that was his choice, and it was his emotions, and like it was just his insecurities, right? That he was like portraying out, right? Because like we come from the same family. I'm 21, he's like 37, and he can't stand like the fact that I'm actually going after the things that I want.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I mean, you go, okay. I mean, look,
What can I do? Nothing.
Not everybody's going to be, like, have the same shared values. And you go, okay. All right. Thanks. Got it. That's fine. I don't have to convince everybody that to agree with me. And that's fine. There's no shortage of people who will agree and share your vision.
Yeah. And he actually told me, you're not a legend. You're just a fucking 21-year-old who, is full of himself. And I'm like, and then I told him, no, I am, but I don't need to do anything or have anything in order to prove to you that I am. And that was when he left when he left. And then I started to like, and maybe you can give me some insight on this, but I stayed with that event for a couple of days, thinking and reflecting and trying to discern whether or not I was humble. What do you think? Or whether or not I was not being humble?
Well, there's two aspects to that. One is that whenever I hear someone like what you're describing, the response that you got, what's interesting to me is that you say, let me ask you something. How old were you when you were convinced that you weren't great? Would have been the question I would have asked him.
Yeah.
I would have actually, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
It's like how old were you when someone convinced you that you weren't great? I would turn, I was never great, but it was like, I beg to differ. I think I think that there is some greatness there. Did you ever have a hunch that you were great? I mean, I would have had fun with that.
That's humility, man. Right? Because you're coming from a place of love.
That's great. That's graciousness. But here's the interesting thing about humility. Humility is actually bullshit. Humility is bullshit. Do you know where humility comes from? Actually, the derivation of the word.
No, tell me.
Okay, so humility. The root word is humble. Humble comes from Old French, from Latin, humilis, which means low, lowly, which means from humus, the ground. It means actually you are nothing more than dirt on the ground, is actually where the derivation. Over time, someone was like, oh, to really make less of yourself is a virtue. That was bullshit. That was a sell job. That was one of the greatest sales jobs in the history of mankind. It is false. It is not true. The bottom line is, you know what? If you're great, I need to know that. If you're not good at something, I also need to know that.
Yeah.
A factual report is not embellishment. It is like, would it have been lack of humility if Muhammad Ali, the greatest fighter, he had fun with it. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. Hey, so it's like, and he was just, but he did it enthusiastically, and he did it joyfully. Michael Jordan. It's like what? Him shooting? It's like what? Is that like him going, I'm the greatest basketball player there is. It's like, bam, floating like forever in the sky. So the thing is that lack of humility? Well, no, that's the ability to go, you know what? See, lack of humility would be this. Lack of humility would be saying, you know what? There are 5 better players on this court, and I'm still saying I am better. It's lack of humility and stupidity. Because the thing is now I'm ignoring what's factual. But if I'm looking and I recognize, you know what? I am doing something quite brilliant in this regard, and I am benefit. Like I could not talk about the fact that I've actually helped companies around the world, small and large, generate over $6 billion with a B, $6 billion worth. Is it lack of humility for me to say that? No, it's a fact. It happened. I helped a company a year ago, and I saw them 2 months ago, and I said, "How you doing?" They said, "Our business is 5x since you actually worked with us." And am I not supposed to tell someone else because otherwise it's not humble for me?
Because
like,
someone is going to feel uncomfortable.
What? What's the crime that I've committed? If I know that what I did helped them grow 5 times, if I help this company grow 3 times, if I helped an entrepreneur who I didn't know at the time form a startup into a $1 billion company 8 years later, and then have that CEO tell me, thanks to you, I was able to donate $50 million to causes that I support that help mankind. Thanks to you. Now should I be humble? I'm not going to tell anybody that, because that would be a lack of humility. Bullshit. People need to know that I can actually help them.
Yeah, 100%. But then again, from dirt we were made, in the dirt we are, dirt we will become. Something like that. I don't know where I heard that. But yeah, great insights, man. And let's see. So, man, what are from the 33 steps to transform your brand, the brand you have into the brand that you need?
Yeah.
Like, what are the first couple of steps that people need to do to get started?
Well, the first thing is the ability to actually pay attention.
Okay.
But where do you pay attention? Too many entrepreneurs look the wrong place. It's like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Let me think about me. Let me think about let me think about what I'm doing that's different. What I'm doing is better. How I'm me. It's like that conversation died many me's and many I's ago.
Yeah.
So the thing is that what happens is that entrepreneurs, one of the key things, I talk about this in the book, is the factor that you've got to be able to pay attention, but to the right things. You've got to be able to tell the important from the unimportant. Not all facts are created equal. So if I'm saying you need to learn what's important, that's understanding this. There's a microcosm, which is one's own world. There's the macrocosm, which is the big wide world out there. Too many entrepreneurs fail to look at the world out there. They fail to look at the macrocosm. That's the noise that's out there. People get lost because of the noise that's out there. They don't know where to look. They don't know what to do. And so they think talking about, well, let me tell you about me. Let me tell you about my products. Let me tell you about my service. Let me tell you about my features. Let me tell you why my competitors are lousy, why I'm great. It's like, no one cares about that, because there's a pathway to our customer's front door. That pathway does not start at our front door, us talking about ourselves. Pathway starts at their front door. They open their front door and they have their obstacles, they have their problems, they have their challenges, they have their aspirations. Those are the things that are most real to them. If I'm not talking and interested and engaged with those things, then as a result, I'm basically only looking at and talking about the things that are interesting to me. I've alienated them. I've not included them. So if I'm going to connect to them and I'm going to open up their heart, I'm going to open up their mind, and I'm going to open up their eyes, it's only going to happen by me actually talking and being interested and engaged with the things right outside their front door. And then the pathway will eventually lead to my front door.
Yeah, that you made me remember a quote that I heard that goes something along the lines of this: good writing is to be understood, right? Persuasive writing needs to make the reader feel. No. Good writing is, I don't know, man. But basically is that you need to, if you want to write in a persuasive way, you need to make the reader understood. Yeah. That's
correct. Well, I mean, well, to that point, my favorite chapter is also the shortest chapter. See, because the way my book is designed, my book has the largest type of any book that's possibly been printed, probably, because I couldn't stand the way the books were being done. You see, books were written with way too much crap. Well, see, this is the size of the text in my book. You see.
Yeah.
And so the thing is so my actual book, there's one chapter here, parallels with what you just said. It's chapter 26, good versus great. And in this, here's the 2 sentences. Okay, 2 sentences. First sentence says, a good brand makes us feel good about what they stand for. A great brand makes us feel good about what we stand for. And that's the difference. But that right there covers good to great right there in 2 sentences. I didn't need to give you 45 sentences. I didn't need to write like 5 paragraphs, five pages, 10 pages, 20 pages, which I could have done easily. I respect the reader's time. I respect the reader's. It's like, look, we've all heard lots of stuff, but you just need the stuff that actually, why does this work when it works? You don't need to be told some stupid little tactic and treated like an idiot. Like, oh, I know you're not smart enough to like actually do this. So I'm going to give you, here's the structure for the best headline, and just replace this word with this word and replace that word with that word. And so copy what I basically did because you can't think for yourself. Bullshit. I will not insult my reader by saying you can't think for yourself. Instead I'm saying, you know what? You can think for yourself. And I'm going to show you the anatomy so you can take the stuff apart. You can put it together. You can structure it. You can know why when you're communicating, why that's meaning something, and why when you're communicating, it's landing on deaf ears. So the thing is it's simple, but it's powerful.
So where can we get your book, man?
You can get it at Amazon.com. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. You can get books at Books A Million. You can get it at any of those. And here's the thing. You see, that's the sound of the hardcover. See, some people buy themselves the paperback. I say, don't get yourself the paperback, because I already can tell you, people are going to borrow this or steal it from your desk. So the only way for you to let them know that you're serious about the fact of the book, you get the hardcover. Because that way, then when they touch it and you say, don't you dare touch it, I haven't given you permission, and you hit them on the shoulder with the book, when you hit them with a hardcover, now they know you're serious. You hit them with a paperback, they're going to say, his heart wasn't in it. Come on, man. It's like, so you got to get yourself the hardcover. So, that's why it is what it is. It's changed the way a lot of entrepreneurs do business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, so you also have a masterclass, right? Brand intervention masterclass to transform your brand in just 8 weeks. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, when 2020 came, I was sitting there, and March came around. I was like, whoa, that's pretty kind of serious, dismal. Business was starting, like clients were getting very scared to spend any money. They didn't know what was happening. They didn't know that it was the beginning of how long was this epidemic, this virus, this COVID thing. And so I took 9 months to actually create a program that actually respects it does what programs. I didn't like what I was seeing in programs. Programs were teaching people to just, again, not think for themselves and just copy stuff. My whole thing was, wait a second, what if I actually taught people how to think? Why can for example, if I had 2 piles of $100,000 right here, and I gave one entrepreneur $100,000, and I gave another entrepreneur $100,000. One of those entrepreneurs is going to turn that $100,000 into $3 million. Mm-hmm. The other, the $100,000 is going to be gone in about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and they're going to then be after 2 months come back and say, I got more. I ran out of cash.
Yeah.
Why is that? It was the same $100. Did 100 instead of one pile of the 100,000 have more special magic dust on it than the other 100? No, it was the same 100K. What was the difference? The difference was the variable in the knowledge of the entrepreneur that I gave it to. So my thing is, my masterclass is based on actually teaching you the actual anatomy of a brand. I go over the 3 phases of branding. There are 3. For example, are you aware there's actually 3 phases to branding?
No, tell me.
So there's 3 phases of branding. One is there's pre-sales branding. That happens before the sale. Everyone does that. There's during the sale branding. And then here's the third one, which almost nobody does. Post-sales branding. Let me ask you something. How many companies that you do business with after the sale actually do anything for you? Like they actually reach out, they say, Hey, I mean, it's like, hey, whatever. They do anything for you that you don't expect. How many?
Well, I mean, the answer is very few, right?
Very few. Yeah, very few. So the thing is I learned this when my wife, I bought her a beautiful, expensive bag from the Coach store, but she didn't know that I bought it for her. I played the half-minded husband who was not really paying attention, but I was paying close attention. So I was looking at the bag that she was looking at. So I end up getting that bag. I get it snuck into the trunk of the car. I bring it home and I watch and I surprise her and I say, honey, I got this. She goes, oh my God. Well, here's what I looked at. So she opens, there's the bag, beautiful bag, gold foil, nice. Okay. On top, tissue paper, nice. All expected though. It's all expected because the expectation is a tool of branding. So now she opens the bag. Oh, she loves the bag. Oh, it's got the beautiful colors. What feels so nice to the touch. That's great. Inside is a little booklet, about a 24-page booklet. You leaf through the booklet. It has pictures of people working on leather. It has a little history. It has all kinds of stuff. By the time you're done with that booklet, all of a sudden that bag went from being a purchase you just inherited this legacy of craftsmanship that was handed down from generation to generation to generation. That was an example of post-sales branding. It happened after the sale. They didn't need to do it. They weren't because they'd already been paid. Everything happened, but they gave it to us. And that was when I realized the power of that. Apple does a brilliant job of that. When you buy an Apple product, it's like, you bring the box home and you take it off and it's perfect, right? It slips off perfectly. It's not loose. It's not flimsy. You take it off and then there's the plastic and you grab the little tongue of the thing and you're like, oh, and there's the stuff underneath and everything's perfectly in its place. And and so you're like, wow. And then if it's an iPhone, it says hello. It doesn't have to say hello, but it says hello. And it does all these different things. All these little bits and pieces are after the sale. They confirm I made the right purchase. It confirms it's like I have no buyer's remorse. I have no feeling of like, you know what? They took my money and now they didn't give a shit about me. They don't care. They didn't give me a flimsy little piece of box. No corners are sloppy, nothing. Everything's perfect, right? It's like freaking pristine. Well, that's an example of post-sales branding. And post-sales branding is the only place that you will cement your relationship. The customer does not expect you to be doing anything more. So you're doing them when they do not expect. So you're exceeding expectation. You will have more referrals. You will have more people who say they're amazing because, I have a client out of New York City. Oh, here, right here. So this is my client from New York. He's a premier landscape designer. Well, I not only branded him, but I also, when he was like, David, I want to have leave an impression. And I said, good. Because the thing is that when you're doing work for a home, you're going to do it for a husband and a wife. You're doing it for the family. You got a team. The husband's he's going to be the one writing out the check. The wife is going to be the one that's going to be living in it and cleaning it and loving it. And they're going to be doing it together. And maybe he'll be doing the cooking. Maybe she'll be doing the cooking, but they both are going to enjoy it. So I was like, we're going to create this for you. So I wrote this. It says Straight Dirt, New York's premier landscape designer tells it like it is. And these are examples of his work. This became an Amazon bestseller within 1 to 2 days. It's an amazing book, but this is an example of giving this to them upon the completion of the job. That is something it's like going above and beyond the expectations. And here's another example. Last year, June was the first speaking gig I had done in 18 months because of COVID. And so there was a beautiful small venue, 35 entrepreneurs. We all met in Montana. And so what I did is I was like, how am I going to make this amazingly special? So I designed this. I designed this coin. I gave them, I designed this coin. This is made out of brass. This sucker's heavy. And it's like, but I made this. It's like right there. Well, I'm looking at where the camera is. There we go. So the thing is right there, you see that's a three-dimensional thing of me. And it's like, and people went nuts. They didn't expect it, but I gave them as a keepsake. And that keeps coming back. And that was worth a couple $100,000 worth of additional business because I took that additional effort.
Damn.
To do that. So it's those points. It's like, and it's the difference of this, where most businesses see as the finish line, the real leader sees as the starting line, because that post-sales branding that's where most people stop the transaction. The real leader, the real brand starts the relationship at that point. Nice. And that's the difference.
You want to make the customer think I made the right purchase. Nice, 100%. Man. I love that. Yeah. Awesome. So man, we have a couple of minutes and I have 5 questions for you to end the interview.
Go for it.
The first question is, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could?
Pay more attention to the story of the individual that you're talking to and who you're there to serve than the story that you think that you need to be telling them about yourself.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thanks. The second question is around mindset. So what is a mindset shift that you've had that you think has contributed to your success?
Mindset?
Yeah.
The mindset. Tell me your question again.
Yeah. So what is a mindset shift that you've had that you think has contributed to your success?
That I know to my core that I absolutely positively impact people's lives. I've proved it to myself enough times, and I was very stubborn. I didn't want to believe it. so I finally convinced myself by actually seeing it. It's like, holy shit. It's like, bang. And I've helped people in terms of their financial freedom, their emotional freedom, their spiritual freedom. And so that's been a major mindset shift that was important.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, this is not a question, but what do you think it's so hard to like accept that?
I think what we touched upon earlier, I think it's very common and popular for people to say, well, be humble. Oh, okay. Don't think too much about yourself, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, because I've actually had people say, wow, you're really full of yourself. And I'm like, and I've actually had people say that sometimes, not very much these days, but for probably 2-3 decades, they're like, wow, you're really like full of yourself. I said, no, I'm just actually really freaking enthusiastic. I really am honestly enthusiastic about what can be done for this project. It's not like, I'm not telling you about like, hey, me. No, it's like us. So it was having the conviction to say, no, I understand what you're saying, but that's not actually the conversation that's happening here. What's actually happening is I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you. I'm not excited like, hey, I'm not trying to sell you. And if you think I'm trying to sell you, I know where the door is. I can leave right now.
Awesome. So the next question is mindset map. So do you have any advice on people who lack clarity or need more clarity for their life?
Yes. Realize that stop looking for life to give you meaning. Stop looking for a brand to give you meaning. Stop looking for a title to give you meaning. Realize that you are the source of power that gives meaning to any title, that you are the source of power that gives meaning to any action, that you are the source of power that gives meaning to any things that are happening around you. You just own your presence, own your impact.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Motion. So what is a habit that you have that you think has contributed to your success?
In terms of emotion?
No. Well, just a habit. No, motion is like taking action. So what is a habit, that you have?
Being wonderfully stubborn. Now, one can be stupid. Not all stubbornness is equal. There's stubborn that's just like stupidly stubborn, refuses to accept facts. But then there's stubbornness that's like conviction. That's the kind of stubborn I'm talking about. My wife is wonderfully stubborn. I'm also wonderfully stubborn. And I will always, and every now and again, I'll say, honey, you are the most stubborn person that I know outside of me. And so the thing is, but not all stubbornness is created equal. So there's stubborn that's just stupid. I will not change. I won't change. It's not working, but I won't change it, No. Or there's like conviction, which is like, no, I know this is working. I may be running into obstacles getting there. I may be running into challenges, into perfecting it, but I will stay the course, and having that level of conviction. So don't confuse stubbornness with conviction. Have the conviction, stay the course.
Awesome. The last one, what do you think about measuring and tracking?
Well, you always want to measure and track. You always, but the bottom line is don't let the metrics dictate your value. That's the wrong way to go about it. It's like, oh, darn, I don't have enough money, therefore I'm not good. Sorry, bullshit. No, if that's the case, then make more freaking money and realize that you are the one that's generating the value of your value in the world. So just know that you are the point of emanation from which all metrics happen. Don't let the metrics dictate your value. Know that you are the power, the source of power for those metrics to actually take effect.
Wonderful, man. So, most people have their self-worth attached to their net worth. And because their net worth fluctuates, they're also like emotionally, they're fluctuating as well. Right? Man, great insight, man. So if we want to know more about you, where can we find more of you, David?
Well, for sure. I mean, obviously you can go to risingabovethenoise.com, RISING, risingabovethenoise.com. And so you can grab a free ebook. There's tons. I mean, I share all of my knowledge all the time with new articles and new case studies and lots of examples. I like to show things. Certainly you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And if you want to just immerse yourself in some just really powerful stuff, grab a copy of Brand Intervention for sure. But risingabovethenoise.com is a great place to start. That's where you can basically learn about pretty much anything.
Awesome, David. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you. I've enjoyed this conversation, and we'll put all of that stuff that you mentioned everywhere this appears. And thank you. I'll see you later, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much, Alex.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms